The mic does not have a name badge. Welcome to Knox Makers, our Tuesday night show and share. We do this every Tuesday. We gather here and show off projects we're working on or things we've made or things we've completely screwed up. We like those the best. We have a sign-up sheet, and if you missed being on it, just wave at me and I will add you to it. But tonight we have two people. The first is John, and he has laser engraved stuff. Yes.
All right. Is this close enough into the microphone? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, my wife and I were working on a project that we will probably talk about in a couple of weeks. We decided my niece is graduating this weekend, and we decided that we wanted to make something to go with the tea set that we are getting for her college dorm room. So it's one of those things that actually looks better when it's a little bit farther away. But we found a quote and a picture of Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter, at the tea party, and as she's going into college, we put in the quote, "She began to believe that very few things are indeed impossible." So it started out, we didn't quite know what we wanted, so we moved over to the scrap bin pile and found some wood planks. I'm not quite sure what kind of wood it was, but it looks a lot nicer than pine. And so I went through and planed the surfaces down and had enough scraps to make three different pieces in the size that we wanted, so that if I messed up, I could start over again. And so we used some of those going through the planer. One of the things I learned is the planer doesn't like things under 1 foot in length. So keep that in mind if you are using it. But it was able to, I was able to achieve what I needed with a few extra pieces of scrap wood. Then I went and took and routed the edges out. I don't know if you can see some of the different router pieces that I used. I couldn't quite find one that I liked. And so then I finally just went kind of with the smooth rounded edges, and I did it on both sides. And after that, we went and put it in the into the laser engraver and just played with some of the scrap pieces, played with some of the different settings to get it so to burn a little bit more than just the default settings that you guys had for when you upload it to Moonraker. And that was a big achievement for myself, not dealing a whole lot with Inkscape. So it was a really good exercise for me in working with bringing in images and playing with all the different settings to get things to sit and lay and cut and crop the way that everything needed. So it's the final product, and should hopefully be able to give it to her this weekend with a nice tea set that we picked up. So.
Very nice. I like that quote and the picture. I might steal that.
That's all her.
Next up, we have Brian, who also has laser stuff.
So, in an attempt to procrastinate from the project I'm supposed to be building for Billy, I've been working on this. So, a friend of mine is Ukrainian, and she is safe here in the United States at the moment. But I figured I should make her something just to kind of boost her morale a little bit. So I just wanted to make a quick charcuterie board for her. So for years I've been making leaves kind of like this, and I usually also inlay the stems. The stems are really difficult to do, to put it in the easiest terms. So I figured I'd try doing them with the laser. And so this was my first attempt at it. Actually, this is my second attempt at it. The first time I did it, I laser etched the stem in, and then I went back in and put the inlays in at the ends of the stems. And I thought it looked a little bit funny because the stem did not extend onto the leaves. So I think I have a picture of this. If you can see that. So it's really faint. It ended up kind of looking like a pencil line, and then it just looked off because it didn't go all the way through onto the leaves. So I planed all of that back off, went down through it, and then my goal was to put the stem back in the exact same spot. So I took my board, put a spill board on top, and then on top of that I put wax paper. And then I re-etched through the wax paper, having the corners lined up so I could set it back down and see where it was, and I could keep adjusting until I got it just right. So that's how I did it after the fact. If I was going to do this again, which I think I'll do this eventually again, I'd basically start with the same thing, etch it through the wax paper, and then I could transfer it onto here with a pencil, and then put everything in the correct spot, leave the machine set up, or at least be able to indicate it off the same spot, then you could go back, put it over the same thing. I think that'll look kind of cool when I decide to start layering these things up so it looks more like a pile of leaves kind of thing. Not really a pile, something more elegant than that. So that's kind of cool, and it's a really easy thing to do. Another thing I messed around with was dyeing wood. Let me turn that sideways. So this is another inlay. It's actually an inlay within an inlay. And I'd show you this too. I'd never dyed stuff before, and it doesn't make me want to dye things again. So this was something I messed around with a little bit. You can buy wood dye at Woodcraft. If you read the label on it, it says mix it with water, soak it in that, paint it on, that kind of thing. That doesn't work at all. If you use water, it comes out looking super blotchy, and it just really looks terrible. Yeah, so what I found worked is if you use isopropanol and soak it overnight, the color goes to the center, but the color in the center is not the same as the outside. So this is what the color was all the way through, and that is what the color was on the outside. So if you want to do any sort of surface prep afterwards, like finishing, planing, or sanding, planing, anything like that, just commit to the lighter color that's underneath. But that inlay was kind of cool to make. You can see it here. This was all done by hand, mostly using the shooting board. So basically I made the blue piece as a single inlay and then inlaid yellow heart into that. And you can square it all up on the shooting board, which makes making rectangles really easy. So that's kind of neat. And then your inlay just looks like this. So you lay it out, cut your square hole, and you can see how they match up. And then drop the thing down in there. And then when you plane the surface off, it's kind of cool because you can make little Ukrainian flag shavings. That doesn't really show up real well, but yeah, I would hand it around to look at, but I'm still putting finish on it, and it's a little bit tacky, but you can come check it out. This is either quilted or fiddle maple, depending on who you talk to, but they're not exactly sure what causes this like tiger stripe look to it. Some people say it's a virus, some people say it's a fungus, some people say it's from stresses in the tree. I don't really know, but it looks pretty rad. So it's that, yellow heart, and more maple. So, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. I think Brian has an inlay class coming up, but it is sold out. Is that true?
Dovetail class?
Oh, you have a dovetail class that's sold out. Basically, any wood stuff, you should go to his classes. As you can see, he's very skilled. I like the different zones meeting as well. Next up, we have Joe, who I'm assuming is not talking about lasers, but is talking about metal.
Metal racks.
Metal racks. Excellent.
So, let me get Okay. So we came together as a community. It's the best thing about this place. Today was a good example of it too. We had everybody come out and help us move for all these donations that we were given. And it was a lot of hard work. So I'm really tired, and if I come off a little bit, whatever, I'm riding on 3 hours of sleep, a lot of work. But it's all right. Yeah, But anyways, we needed metalworking needed a steel storage rack. We're gonna be opening a steel store, and the first part of it was nice. We, let's see, yeah, I'll just start showing pictures. And plus, and I'll take this thing out, right? Okay, so here you can see Gabe. He is cutting some of the stock. Here's David prepping some stock. Here's Bronco prepping stock, welding stock. Getting it all together on the base. Oh yeah, handsome guys. The base is now on the floor and the framing is starting to go up. I don't know, is this coming in good enough or? Okay. Whoop, there we go, okay. And what was nice about it too is that, you know, it's one thing to be welding on the bench, and then it's another thing to do a fabrication project where you're not just sitting in a thing practicing. This is, you know, figuring out how to make the build and then doing all of your welds out of position. You know, they're not always flat right there for you. You gotta be a mountain climber sometimes. So there's Gabe going to town. Oop. And so, yeah, this is as far as we got the first day. We got the main frame up, and then yesterday, Thea came in and we polished it up the rest of the way. And she almost welded herself into a jail a couple of times because she was inside of it, and more bars are coming in. You can see her going to town there. And then here's kind of the example of what I mean about climbing around on it, because you're not really always able to reach the spots that you need to weld on. So, and some more stuff all clamped together. And here is the the finished rack. Of course, it keeps doing that. Anyways, there it is. And if you want to see it in person, it's back there in metalworking. We're going to be loading it up so that big pile of steel that's back there now be nice and neat and available for people to use. Thanks for all the helpers, too. Actually, we got most of the help done. So, yeah, we're looking pretty good. We had a lot of hands that went good.
Thank you, metal fans. That's a good example. If there's ever something that you want to build skills in, just talk to the czar of your favorite area. Ask if they have any projects or anything that needs improvement around the space, and there's definitely stuff to do. Next up on our list, we have Joe Pardue, who has coding and circuits.
Hi, I'm Joe Pardue, and I kind of have been, like everybody else, hiding out and isolated for the last 2 years. And I noticed that some of my favorite things in life had kind of disappeared, and those included being around people. And one of the things I've always liked to do is to teach. And I used to teach some electronics and some circuits and things like that. In fact, I'm a retired electrical engineer, and back before I retired and including into my retirement, I had kind of a side hustle where I wrote technical articles about computing and electronics. I wrote 70 articles for Nuts and Bolts magazine. I wrote 3 books, and I had a small company with project kits that supported the magazine articles and supported the books. And it was kind of like, you know, pin money. kept me off the streets. But it certainly wasn't a viable business by itself. But anyway, I got to thinking about it, and the thing I just completely enjoyed the most about it was the teaching, and especially writing the articles. And I was at home, it's like, I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to stand up and start talking. I want to bring in a few examples of my stuff, and I'm going to talk because I'm trying to lead myself into maybe teaching some classes, and I'm going to need to, I may just end up offering some stuff and see who takes it, or I may, solicit people talking to me. The last thing I did here is this guy right here. This is called a Phenokistoscope, and it's based on a 17th, early 18th century disc that the people would spin, and they'd look at it, and it was like a little animation device. And this one I don't think is going to work quite right, but you at least get the idea, and those of you with seizure disorders will have a seizure. Here we go. Can anybody? All right. Let's see if we can actually see anything with this. Okay. Yeah, I can't quite adjust it properly, but when the speed is adjusted properly, the rats run out of the hole and they go over the edge. I think you can see that's what it's supposed to be doing. And it worked 2 years ago, the last time I touched it. But two interesting things about this. The Makerspace has a 3D printer, and this lighting system is 3D printed, not here at home, but it could have been printed here. Also, this chassis was laser cut, and this hinge is something that John Dale, the first time I'd ever seen it, John Dale did it, and I thought, hey, I thought, well, that would make an interesting chassis, cut that out, and there you go. And then there was a lady from a local university wanted to teach a class, and so one of her summer classes, we built these. And as you can see from the back, no, you can't. As you can see from the back, we use an Arduino Nano, and we use some circuits that convert the power, and just a basically toy motor. And in the center, there's a little knob that I 3D printed to specially hold these. These are just ordinary CDs where I printed the CD label with the old 17th century animations. That's one thing. Okay, another thing I did was I volunteered to work to help teach some classes at a local high school. And I designed I was teaching them C programming, and I was teaching them, again, here's the Arduino. I was teaching them about programming the Arduino. And I thought, well, this would be cool. I'll make an example that uses stoplights. Okay, let me, wrong way. Fortunately, I'm the last person. Okay, so I made this thing with stoplights, and turning red, yellow, and green with stoplights is very simple, but then I also added turn lights, so that when a car comes up on Rabbit Street and he runs over the detector, it'll stop all the lights and it'll give him a turn signal, which I can actually show. Okay, so it moves too fast, which I can program to slow it down a little bit. But let's have a car come up on Rabbit Street, and there we go. And quick like a bunny, you get to take a left, but you got to go really fast. Oh, you just got run over because you weren't fast enough. What I didn't realize, I'm teaching this class, and everybody in class is going like, what? And the teacher said, they're middle high school students, and none of them drive. They don't know what stoplights do. So that was embarrassing. But anyway, I got to teach them a little something. Now this guy right here is what someone in here named a free range plotter. It's a little robot with a pen in it, and you can program it to draw pictures. And let me see if I can get this showing. Yeah, this is, okay, let's go. Are you going to go? Okay, it goes very slowly. It took it 12 minutes to write Knox Makers backwards. So I speeded it up, and I've got a version somewhere that this is set to music, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, so 12 minutes later, this robot writes Knox Makers. And it also uses an Arduino microcontroller. There we go, Knox Makers. I'll get that thing working, and I'll be able to demonstrate it here. And so anyway, I guess what I'm up here for is I have got a lot of older material that is written for older devices, and I'm thinking about porting a lot of this material to a more modern device, like this Arduino Nano that's on here, and teaching novice-friendly classes on, like, the first thing we will learn to do is blink an LED, then we'll learn to read a push button, and then say, based on what you read on the push button, we can blink the LED in different ways. We can read temperature sensors. We'll learn these motors are stepper motors. We'll learn to run stepper motors, and then the pin is picked up and dropped down by a servo motor, so we can learn to do servo motors. And some of the fabrics people were actually interested in using some of these. There are devices that have the Arduino core, but can be sewn into fabric. One of the earlier uses for this was an MIT student named Leah Boakley put blinker lights on her jacket for riding to and from MIT, and she eventually became a professor there. And it's really cool to see, her with the blinker lights. So I guess I'm just rambling about something that I'm thinking I would like to do here, and that would be redoing the articles and then teaching classes if there's going to be any interest in it. So are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Definitely chase down Joe if you're interested in that. Classes. Anyone did not get on the list? No? Okay. A couple of announcements. First, class is coming up. Tonight, there is a new member onboarding. So we don't usually do those on Tuesdays. This is the first time we're doing it on a Tuesday, but it is now, as you may have heard, if you're a trial member, it is now mandatory to attend an onboarding before becoming a full membership and getting your key. So if you're here and you're visiting and you're interested in membership, it would be really great if you just stick around in here for 40 minutes or something and listen to me talk some more, and Isaac too. But that's tonight, and then we will also have them other nights of the week, but we're going to be starting to have those on Tuesday nights once a month-ish. Monday on June 6th is Woodworking 101. This is the authorization class for woodworking, basics, how to not cut your hand off, how to turn the dust collector on, those kinds of things. I think it's a little more than that, but basics. And then Saturday, June 18th, is Perfect Miters and Splines, so also taught by Brian. Those are the only classes on the calendar right now is woodworking, so I guess metalworking's been a little bit busy. Anyway, watch the calendar, knoxmakers.org/events. That's where all of our classes are. If you follow us on Facebook or Meetup or other places, we also post stuff there. But authorization classes and classes that are members only are only on our calendar. So make sure you go there. And then other announcements. We have new access points for the internets. They are named KM, and the password is the same, which is devil_pig. So if you are new here tonight, or if you haven't connected to the internet, you might now not be connected because we got rid of all the old internets and we have new internets. So check your phones all now. Make sure you're on the Wi-Fi. Next announcement, we are having our very first Maker Craft Sale this August. We got confirmation, so save the date for August 14th. It will be in our parking lot. We're inviting vendors. If anyone here makes things and sells them on the side, craft things, you're welcome to have a table at this event. We'll be talking more about it. We literally just got confirmation today, so it's just to save the date right now, but you'll definitely be hearing more about that in the upcoming weeks. And then if I could get a volunteer to change the air conditioner filters. Anybody? David? And a volunteer to empty the trashes? Bronco, thank you guys. That's all I've got for tonight. So if you are staying for the new member onboarding, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, get something to drink, and then meet back in here in a few minutes. And if you're new here and you would like a tour, and you don't want to stay for the new member onboarding, find someone else with a red name badge and they will be glad to show you around. So thanks for coming.